Hi everyone, in this video I'm gonna tell you how I applied for a job at Amazon Web Services, but failed one of the interviews, and what I should have done differently in order to succeed. Let's get going.
Buckled in?
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good, Arrow Guy. Let's go. Let's go.
Doctor, I feel so upset that I didn't get that job.
Okay, and how do you feel about it?
But I've just told you I feel upset. Have you been listening?
Alright, I'll tell you what to do. But you have to wait until the end of the video. Many years ago, when I have just started my cloud career and have been working as a cloud engineer and a technical account manager for a couple of years, a recruiter from Amazon Web Services contacted me and offered me a position of technical account manager at AWS. I was so excited.
Freaking excited!
At that time, I worshipped AWS. I have just started my cloud journey. I was in love with the cloud. Now, don't get me wrong, I still am, but back then it was more like rose and candy stage. Whereas now it is more like mature relationship. Darling, I love you so much, but sometimes your CloudFormation updates fail, and it makes me angry. Why can't you just deploy, for Christ's sake? So when the recruiter called me back and invited me for a technical interview, I was in heavens, because it was the job of my dream, and I started to prepare right away. Amazon Web Services is one of the top employers in the IT world, and I knew that they have a very challenging interview process. Never before I have been on an interview on a top-level company, and never after. So in order to understand what would be the process like, I started to search. And a piece of advice for you. Before going on an interview, do your research. Because on websites like Glassdoor, Reddit or Google, you can find quite a lot of information about interview process. What I found out was that their technical interview process was pretty tough.
It was a living hell.
In order to pass an interview for a cloud position at AWS, you need to know quite a lot. From a very broad set of topics. You will need to know networking, server administration, storage, Linux, databases, applications, and many more. You don't have to be an expert in all of the areas, but still you need to know quite a lot. On the technical interview, you can expect a wide variety of questions. Starting from most common that you encounter on almost any IT interview, questions like what is the difference between TCP and UDP? Or what happens if you type www.aws.com in your browser and you have to explain step by step what happened next. And questions like what is a shell in Linux? And it has nothing to do with the beach. There are also quite a lot of more specific questions in every area. For example, what is a RAID in storage? Or how DNS works? Or how to increase database performance? That's what failed me a bit back then. Slow query logs. And of course there are a lot of questions about AWS services. For example, what are the routing policies for Route 53? What is CloudFront? What is the difference between NLB and ALB? And much, much more. So knowing all of that, I started to prepare for the technical interview. And I should say that apart from my previous experience, there was one thing that helped me a lot. My AWS Architect Associate certification. Because this certification covers the whole variety of topics that I needed for the interview. In my humble opinion, this certification is a must-have. For a cloud engineer who wants to work with AWS Cloud, I learned a lot during the process of preparation, and a lot of the knowledge I gained helped me to pass the technical interview, which was long and it had a lot of questions from different areas. But I passed it!
Ooh, that's a bingo!
Man, I was excited, because from all of my previous experiences, technical interview was the most difficult part. And I don't remember a single job, except this one, where I passed the technical interview and was not given an offer. So in my mind, I was already drinking mojitos with Jeff Bezos. The next interview was with the business manager. AWS is a very customer-oriented company. They have developed 16 leadership principles, and the first of them is customer obsession. AWS are obsessed about their customers, and they want candidates who would fully comply with this principle too. A candidate needs to be able to bring a lot of value to their customers. And in the interviews, they make sure that candidate is able to do that. So on the interview with the manager, all the questions were about how I handle customers. Questions were like, how did you deal in a tough situation with the customer? Describe a project that you have implemented for the customer. What tough situations did you have with the customer? How you went above and beyond and exceeded expectations from customer, and so forth. My problem at that time was that I had very little experience working with customers. Because before that, I didn't work with customers at all. I just worked at companies as an employee. And my experience dealing with customers was definitely not enough to pass the interview. So I failed.
Doctor, I feel very upset. Can you tell me now, please?
Nope, I told you, you have to wait until the end of the video. So my tip for everyone who wants to apply for a position at AWS, get enough experience working with customers. Otherwise you will fail like me. But if you have enough customer experience, you have a good chance to pass the interview and move to the final stage, which is the loop. AWS will invite you to their office. You will spend there hours having multiple interviews with up to 9 people, and only then you will get a decision. So be prepared to talk to a lot of people. Make sure you have something to say not only about customer obsession, but about every leadership principle. And with a bit of luck, you will succeed.
Oh, my life is great!
Unlike me.
Life!
I was very upset back then. It was the job of my dream. But now when I look back after all these years, I'm actually super happy I didn't get that job. Let me explain. Back then I had a very low understanding what technical account managers do at AWS. Now being an AWS customer, I work with technical account managers. They support customers and they do it very well. But it is a customer-facing role. It is more about communication. Technical account managers do not build things in the cloud that much. Whereas I like to build things a lot. This is what I enjoy. For me, it is nothing better than to see an application working on the infrastructure I have built. There is nothing better than to find new solutions, to solve new problems, to do infrastructure as a code, to deploy. That's why I love my job so much. And now after all these years, I understand that I personally wouldn't be able to enjoy my job as much if I was a technical account manager at AWS. But this applies only to me. Today, I'm really happy I didn't get that job. So whenever something unpleasant happens in your life, you didn't get the job, you didn't buy that house you wanted, or that girl that's so special didn't say yes, don't be upset. Because in a couple of years, you may realize that this thing was actually the best that could have happened with you.
Doctor, it's the end of the video. Could you please tell me now what should I do?
Alright, so every problem comes from childhood. Now you as a kid were afraid of clouds. So to get rid of this fear, you need to end every video with the words, "May the cloud be with you."
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Good luck to all of us, and may the cloud be with you. Always.